Hi everyone, George DeSantis here. As you can tell, obviously my voice hasn't really recovered quite fully yet, but I'm going to try and do this. We'll see how I make out. Um, Before we begin to look at charts, as usual, let's bring up the disclaimer and you guys can read it. And note that it's not investment advice that we're giving here. It's simply an educational video. Here's a weekly chart of the S&P 500. First of all, let's look at the moving averages for the 4 EMA above the 9 EMA, and that's above the 30 weighted moving average. This is your 50-day moving average here, or in this case 50-week. So insofar as the moving averages are concerned, we still have a nice uptrend. Parabolic, still below the most recent bar, and we're not too close to the upper Bollinger Band yet, so we seem to still have a ways to go here. MACD is in bullish territory. It hasn't really shown much weakness there, and all these other indicators are looking bullish. RSI 12, Williams, and also the sum of the rate of change. Let's look at here's a daily chart of the S&P 500. What we're seeing here is that we rallied with this bullish engulfing candle. We rallied all the way up to the upper Bollinger Band, sort of went into a squeeze of the bands, and then we consolidated and even pulled back a bit. But what we have here now is that we pull back to close between the 9 EMA and the 30 weighted moving average, which is, in my book, it's a buy signal. Notice that since the 9 crossed over the 30 here, we had a pullback here. We closed between the 9 and the 30, and we rallied from there all the way up here. Typically, the first pullback to close between the 9 and the 30 is one of the most powerful buy signals, but others may follow, and this is what we have here now. So on the daily chart, we still have these moving averages are above each other, the 4, the 9, the 30, and the parabolic is below the most recent bar. So I suspect, as this green arrow indicates, we go higher from here. We're in a bit of a squeeze here, I think, or to some extent anyway. MACD is still in bullish territory, although it seems that if it just barely went into negative territory here. I don't think there's any major significance for that. RSI 12 is still above 40, and as long as that is the case, we have an uptrend. Williams is above 60, etc. Some of the rate of change crossed a little below the 4% line, but it looks as though we still have a bullish chart on the weekly and the daily of the S&P 500. So before we go to individual stocks, let's take a look at some stock charts on the S&P. The first one has the impulse indicator, the red, blue, and green bars. Right now we have a blue bar, which means we could go either long or short. But since we have this uptrend here, I'm not inclined to go short on this at all. I wouldn't suggest it. So I'm betting on the market going higher. So if we look at a daily chart, though, what we find is on the daily chart, we do have a red bar. So one might say, well, if I'm a short-term trader, I might take a chance to go short here. Yeah, well, that's a risky bet because the bigger trend, the weekly trend is against you. It better be a very short term to go short here. And here's the new high, new low spread on the on the US stocks, NYSE, I think it is. And what we find is we're still having more 395 new highs, more new highs and new lows. So that is bullish to me anyway. And here's the chart of the S&P 100, the percentage of stocks above the 200-day moving average. And we can see that we're hovering around the 65% level. We just briefly went above it one day last week. I think it was Thursday. But as long as we're between the 50 and 65% here, level here, we actually in trading range. We could trade the market, and in fact, we might look to go long to get position for buying stocks. So let's look at some individual stocks like Apple. We usually start with Apple. What can we say? I mean, Apple has been rallying. It makes a big move here, then it consolidates, make another big move, consolidates, another big move, and consolidating. I own it at this time. I'm going to show you some of the stocks that I own first, and then I'll bring up a few others that I would find very interesting and might consider buying once I free up some more cash, if I do. Here's Microsoft. These are weekly charts. So Microsoft has a really nice weekly chart. You can see going all the way back here, since it was about $90, $80, $90 a share. And right now it's still trending up. You can see the 4 above the 9, 9 above 30, parabolic below the most recent bar. MACD looking good. What's not to like? I own it. Here's Adobe. Adobe, I own this one too. You can see it has a nice uptrend, doing some consolidation here after coming pretty close to the upper Bollinger Band. But one little bit of weakness is the MACD trending down below the 0 line. So that gives a little room for pause, but not very much. We still have all these other indicators looking pretty bullish. For example, the sum of the rate of change indicator above 4, etc., etc. So I'm not looking to sell Adobe here. It would have to show me that if 9 crosses below the 30, and then I'll say, okay, things have changed. Here's Salesforce. Bought it some time ago, probably back somewhere in here. And it's hit the upper Bollinger Band and pulled all the way back to between the 4 and the 9. And now it's got a nice bullish candle last week. So I like that. I'm still holding it. There's another one I own, and I'm still holding it. It hit the upper Bollinger Band, very much like Salesforce. Hit the upper Bollinger Band and is now consolidating. But there's still some green bars here, some dojis, but it still looks pretty good. You can see these other indicators are looking good. So I still own this one. So here's Visa. As you know, I own a lot of Visa. I like the payment systems a lot. Don't have MasterCard, but it's looking very, very good too. And so I still have Visa. Looking pretty good. All these indicators are looking bullish. Here's Etsy, weekly chart. Beat earnings recently, had a nice move up since, and it's doubled in the past year. You could see that if we crunch the chart, it's been about $20 a share back here. So it's doubled, more than doubled. It's one of those smaller companies, likely a takeover target because it's an online retailer type of thing. And my friend who owns it has a nice gain in it, double. Congrats. Here's another smaller company, but a up-and-comer, it seems. Stitch Fix. It's one of these retailers, specialty retailers too. I like the way this chart looks. I don't own it right now, but it looks very interesting. Nice bullish looking candle here, bullish engulfing candle, and a morning star formation right here. Here's another recent IPO, DocuSign, a software company, and again, this looks pretty interesting. You had this run up after the IPO and then a little bit of a consolidation, sell off, and now it seems to be moving again. So it's one of those, more risky stocks, but something to get in on the ground floor. Not bad. There's another one of those recent IPOs, Spotify, and of course it has a nice looking chart. I like this bullish engulfing candle here, last week anyway, and so it's another one to put on the watch list. How about Costco? Another weekly chart of Costco. Boy, this thing looks really nice. We had a target of 205.36. Well, it's at 220 now, so it just keeps rocking and rolling, and all the other indicators here look pretty good. So Costco looks like a big winner. There's Netflix. Netflix once again on the weekly chart seems to be in that buy zone region. You see, just in this congested area between the 9 and the 30. Actually, the 9, the 4, and the 30. But it seems like this is that buy zone that we should be looking at. And I would anticipate this to be a good area to get into Netflix again. I don't own it right now, but I'm going to be looking very curiously to buy it again. All right, this is the last one, NVIDIA. NVIDIA, of course, we know it has a tremendous run up in the last couple of years, and it just seems to be consolidating here, getting ready for another move. There are some problems with semiconductors at this time, but I think they're straightening things out with the Chinese and so on. I'm not sure. That's it, folks. I hope I have a better voice next week. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.